Lieutenant Emma Ross stared at her monitor in the depths of humanity's deep space listening post-Hyperion, hidden within the asteroid belt. The quantum signal analyzer had never shown readings like this before. The message came through on frequencies that shouldn't exist, encrypted in ways that made her head spin. 3 years of monitoring the stars for signs of intelligent life, and finally, something different from the usual commercial chatter of known species. "Director Matthews," she called out. Her voice steadied despite her racing heart. "You need to see this." The signal pulsed with an almost crystalline structure, each wave pattern forming complex geometric shapes that seemed to rotate in 4-dimensional space. The advanced AI systems they used for decryption were having trouble even recognizing it as data. Director Samuel Matthews leaned over her station, his weather-worn face illuminated by the holographic display. "How long has it been broadcasting?" 17 minutes, and counting, sir. It's being transmitted on all known frequencies, plus some we didn't even know existed. Whatever this is, they want to make damn sure someone hears it." Matthews nodded, his expression grim. "Run it through the xenophilological database. Let's see if we can." The signal suddenly shifted, the complex patterns resolving themselves into a clear visual transmission. The holographic display sparked to life, revealing a being that seemed to be made of living crystal and light. Its translucent form pulsed with internal energy, creating cascading rainbows that would have been beautiful if not for the obvious damage to its structure. Deep cracks ran through its core, and several crystal facets were missing entirely. To any who still honor the old accords, the being spoke, its voice resonating through the station's speakers in perfect English, somehow translated in real time. "I am High Resonator Kelxis of the Aldari Consensus. Our civilization faces extinction at the hands of the Korgan Empire. They hunt us not for territory or resources, but because we ourselves are the resources they seek." The image flickered, and for a moment, they could see background images of massive mining ships tearing apart what looked like living crystal cities. The screams that accompanied those images would haunt Emma's dreams for years to come. "We have appealed to the Galactic Council, but they fear the Korgan's military might. Our once allies now turn blind eyes to our destruction. If any civilization of honor still exists among the stars, we beg for your aid. We have little to offer in return except our gratitude and what remains of our technical knowledge." Director Matthews was already moving, his fingers flying over his personal console as he connected to Earth's Defense Command. The Aldari's message continued, providing tactical data about the Korgan forces, coordinates of their territory, and the location of the remaining Aldari strongholds. "Sir," Emma called out, her eyes fixed on another display. "I'm picking up responses from other civilizations. They're all sending regrets, formal diplomatic messages declining to intervene." Matthews paused his transmission to Earth, a small smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "Of course they are. The Korgans have the largest fleet in 3 spiral arms. No one wants to risk their wrath." "Then what hope do we have?" Emma asked, watching as more decline messages flooded in. "Earth's Space Force is tiny compared to these powers." The director's smile widened just a fraction. "Lieutenant, how long have you been stationed here?" 3 years, sir. "And in all that time, did you ever wonder why we have a military-grade quantum transmission system hidden in an asteroid? Or why your security clearance is higher than most planetary governors?" Before Emma could answer, her secondary display lit up with a priority message from Earth. The response was just 3 words long, but they made Director Matthews stand a little straighter. "Thunder Protocol authorized." "Lieutenant Ross," Matthews said, his voice taking on a tone she'd never heard before, "you're about to learn why Earth has spent the last century pretending to be less than we are. Send a message back to the Aldari on their emergency channel. Help is coming. Then report to Briefing Room 1 for your real assignment. It's time to show the galaxy why humanity never signed those so-called peace accords. Admiral James Morrison stood at the viewport of Orbital Command Station Aegis, watching the sunrise over Earth's curved horizon. His weathered features reflected in the reinforced glass, a face that had seen more classified projects than almost anyone else in the solar system. The message he'd just received made 30 years of secrecy worth every second. "Computer," he said, his voice carrying the weight of command. "Initialize Protocol Thunder. Authorization Morrison 77 Echo Whiskey." The station's AI responded immediately. Protocol Thunder initialized, releasing command locks on all hidden assets. Time to full combat readiness. 6 hours. Behind him, the command center erupted into controlled chaos. Officers who had trained for years for this moment moved with practiced precision. Screens lit up across the chamber, showing hidden facilities awakening throughout the solar system. Colonel Sarah Winters burst into the room, her uniform still being adjusted. "Admiral, the Mercury forges are responding. Shipyards 1 through 7 are opening their camouflage fields." Morrison nodded, a slight smile playing at his lips. "Show me." The main display activated, revealing live feeds from multiple locations. Within Mercury's perpetual shadow, massive doors were opening in the planet's surface, revealing shipyards that had been hidden for decades. Ships of war emerged like warriors awakening from ancient slumber, their hull designs unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Status report on the Europan fleet," Morrison asked, his eyes fixed on the screens. "The ice shield is cracking now, sir," another officer reported. "Submarine carriers are surfacing through the designated breakpoints, all systems nominal." The feed from Europa showed massive vessels breaking through the moon's icy surface, their dark hulls glistening with frozen water. These were the stealth ships, designed to hide in the ocean beneath Europa's ice, their existence unknown to even most of Earth's population. Lieutenant Commander James Rodriguez approached with a holographic display. "Sir, the Saturn Ring facility reports all dreadnoughts are powered up and ready for launch. The camouflage asteroids are being moved into disposal orbits now." Morrison watched as the rocks that had been part of Saturn's rings for a century split apart, revealing the massive warships hidden within. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering, combining recovered alien technology with human innovation in ways their creators never imagined. "Send word to all fleet commanders," Morrison ordered. "Operation Thundershield is now active. All ships will rendezvous at the Mars point within 12 hours. He turned to address the command center at large. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing is the culmination of 100 years of preparation. Since we first detected the Korgan Empire's radio signals, Earth has been getting ready. Every failed space program, every budget cut to military space forces was a cover. While the galaxy thought we were struggling to reach Mars, we were building the most advanced fleet in known space." The displays showed more ships emerging, squadrons of fighters from bases hidden in the asteroid belt, supply ships rising from camouflage craters on Mars, and special operations vessels decloaking near Venus. "Sir," Colonel Winters called out, "we're getting confused transmissions from the lunar Chinese base and the European Space Agency. They're asking about the unknown ships." Morrison chuckled. "Send them the Thunder Protocol clearance. It's time everyone knew what we've really been building up here." A junior officer approached with a tablet. "Admiral, final count is coming in. We have 317 capital ships, over 1,000 support vessels, and 2,000 fighter craft ready for immediate deployment. All crews report ready status." Morrison nodded, pride evident in his expression. "Send a message to all ships. The Thunder Fleet sets sail in 6 hours. Our mission is the defense of the Aldari people against extinction. Today, we show the galaxy that Earth doesn't stand idle while innocents are slaughtered. Today, we show them what humanity can really do." He turned back to the viewport, watching as the first ships began to move into formation, and send one more message, directly to the Korgan High Command. Weather report. Thunder coming. The Mars Point rendezvous became the most impressive display of military might humanity had ever assembled. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Thunderchild, as ships arrived from every corner of the solar system. Each vessel represented a different approach to space combat, a philosophy that made human ship design unique in the galaxy. Battle Group Avalanche has arrived from Europa, sir, Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez reported, his hands dancing over the holographic controls. Their stealth systems are operating at peak efficiency. Morrison watched as the sleek, dark shapes of the Europan fleet slid into formation. Their hull design mimicked the properties of deep-sea creatures, able to vanish from both visual and electronic detection. Behind them came the Mercury Forge ships, their heavy armor gleaming with heat-dispersing patterns that could withstand the corona of a star. Status on the swarm carriers? Morrison asked, studying the tactical display. Colonel Winters gestured to a section of the formation where massive ships were deploying clouds of smaller craft. The high ships are launching their fighter screens now. Each carrier has 500 drones and 200 piloted interceptors. The neural networks are synchronizing as we speak. The smaller ships moved like schools of fish, flowing through complex patterns that would confuse enemy targeting systems. Unlike the rigid formations favored by other species, human fighters operated in fluid, organic movements that seemed almost alive. Sir, a communications officer called out, "We're receiving a priority message from the Jovian Command. The last of the heavy artillery platforms are in position." The final pieces of the fleet moved into place, massive platforms that had been hidden in Jupiter's atmosphere, their weapons capable of cracking small moons. They were surrounded by squadrons of support ships, each designed to work in concert with the others. Morrison activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Thunder Actual. Begin Phase 1 of Operation Rolling Thunder. Navigation. Plot our course to the Aldari system. The fleet's formation shifted, creating a three-dimensional pattern that resembled a massive snowflake. At key points throughout the formation, special vessels activated their hyperspace field generators, creating a bubble of faster-than-light space, large enough to envelope nearby ships. "Sir," Rodriguez said, his voice tight with anticipation, "I've been studying the Korgan battle records. Their tactics, they're almost predictable. They rely too much on brute force and numbers." Morrison nodded, a predatory smile crossing his face. "That's because they've never had to adapt. When you're the biggest kid on the block, you don't learn finesse. But humanity, we've been the underdogs in every fight we've ever won. Show me what you found." The main display lit up with combat footage of Korgan ships in action. Their movements were indeed repetitive, standard attack patterns, predictable response times, and a heavy reliance on overwhelming force rather than tactical innovation. "They always attack in the same formations," Winter added, studying the footage. "Their ships are powerful but inflexible. They don't even try to adapt their tactics to different opponents. And that will be their downfall," Morrison said, his voice carrying across the bridge. "While they've been dominating through sheer force, we've been learning, adapting, and creating ships that can fight in ways they've never seen. Each vessel in this fleet was built to counter a specific weakness we've identified in their defense systems. The hyperspace field stabilized, creating shimmering tunnels of light throughout the formation." Morrison took one last look at Mars, growing smaller behind them. "All ships," he commanded, "prepare for hyperspace jump. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. And remember, the galaxy thinks they know what humanity is capable of. In 3 weeks, we're going to show them how wrong they are." The Thunderchild's engines flared to life, leading the fleet into the swirling vortex of hyperspace, Behind them, Earth's sun became just another star in the distance, while ahead lay a battle that would change the galaxy forever. The Thunder Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Aldari system, emerging like ghosts into normal space. Admiral Morrison's expression hardened as the long-range sensors painted a picture of systematic destruction. The outer planets had been transformed into mining operations, their crystal surfaces scarred by massive extraction equipment. "Status report," he commanded, his voice tight with controlled anger. Colonel Winter's hands flew over her console. 9 Korgan mining platforms detected on the 4th planet alone. Energy signatures suggest. Sir, they're not just mining. They're processing living crystal matrix. These are execution centers. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The Korgans weren't just mining resources. They were systematically destroying ascension species. Multiple distress signals detected, Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez reported, his face pale. They're separating the Aldari by crystal quality. The imperfect ones are being. He couldn't finish the sentence. Morrison's jaw clenched. Battle stations. All ships. Initiate silent running protocols. Deploy the ghost screen. Throughout the fleet, stealth systems engage. The Europan ships led the way, their dark hulls absorbing both light and radar. Behind them, the swarm carriers released clouds of drone fighters, each one barely larger than a human, but carrying enough firepower to cripple a standard cruiser. Korgan patrol detected, Winters announced. 3 heavy cruisers, heading 047 Mark 012. They haven't spotted us yet. Morrison studied the tactical display. The Korgan ships moved in their typical arrow formation, confident in their dominance of this space. They had no idea they were about to face something entirely new. Deploy Strike Package Alpha, he ordered. Let's show them how Earth fights. The first human ships to reveal themselves were the swarm fighters. They appeared like a cloud of meteors, their formation seemingly random, but actually a carefully choreographed dance of death. The Korgan ships reacted exactly as expected, turning their heaviest weapons toward the apparent threat. They're powering up their main guns, Rodriguez reported. Standard response pattern, just as we predicted. Morrison allowed himself a small smile. Execute Phase 2. As the Korgans focused on the fighter swarm, 3 Europan stealth ships materialized behind them. Their special weapons, designed specifically for this moment, fired synchronized pulses of energy that disrupted the Korgan ship's shield harmonics. Ghost Fleet, you are weapons-free, Morrison commanded. The true beauty of human battle doctrine revealed itself. While other species relied on overwhelming force or superior technology, humanity had learned to fight like water, flowing around obstacles, finding weaknesses, and striking from unexpected angles. The swarm fighters split into smaller groups, each one moving in patterns based on Earth's most aggressive predators. Some attacked like sharks, others like eagles, creating chaos that no computer could predict. The Korgan targeting systems, designed to track large capital ships, found themselves unable to lock onto the rapidly moving targets. Sir, Winters called out. They're transmitting a warning to their command. Let them, Morrison replied calmly. I want their leaders to see this. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. When it was over, 3 Korgan heavy cruisers, ships that could have dominated most space forces, drifted as lifeless hulks. Not a single human fighter had been lost. Signal received from the enemy command channel, Rodriguez reported, a note of satisfaction in his voice. They're calling us the Ghost Fleet. Their tactical computers are trying to classify our combat style, but coming up empty. Morrison stood from his command chair, addressing the entire bridge. Send word to all ships. This was just the beginning. The Korgans think they know war because they've never lost. But humanity, we've lost more times than we can count, And each time we got back up stronger. Now we're going to teach them what that means." He turned to the tactical display, where more Korgan ships were already moving to investigate. "All ships, prepare for Phase 2 of Operation Rolling Thunder. It's time to show the galaxy why you never corner a species that turned defeat into an art form." Operation Thunderclap began at dawn, measured by the light of the Aldari system's primary star. Admiral Morrison had spent 3 days positioning his forces around the fourth planet, using the debris fields of destroyed mining operations as cover. Now, as the local star's light crept over the horizon, the Thunder Fleet revealed why Earth had named their ships after natural disasters. "All battle groups report ready," Colonel Winters announced from her station. "The Korgan Defense Fleet is exactly where we predicted. They're still following standard patrol patterns." Morrison nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Begin Phase 1. Let's show them what a real storm looks like." The first wave came not from ships, but from the debris field itself. Hundreds of what the Korgans had dismissed as chunks of destroyed mining equipment suddenly activated, revealing themselves as stealth mines. The explosions created a web of gravitational distortions, disrupting the Korgan formation before they even knew they were under attack. "Phantom drag ships, you are go for Phase 2, Morrison commanded. The pride of Earth's fleet technology revealed itself. Ships equipped with the revolutionary Phantom drive began to shift between dimensions, their hull materials vibrating at frequencies that let them pass through solid matter. The Korgan commanders watched in horror as human vessels phased through their best defenses like ghosts, leaving behind antimatter charges inside their shield perimeters. "Sir," Rodriguez called out, "the enemy is attempting to establish a defensive sphere around their command ship." "Perfect," Morrison replied, a grim smile playing across his face. "Deploy the Leviathan Protocol." 3 massive ships, previously hidden behind the planet's largest moon, began to move. These were the products of the Mercury Forges, vessels that could survive inside a star's corona. They accelerated toward the Korgan formation, their hull plating absorbing enemy fire like it was nothing more than rain. "The enemy is launching their heavy bombers," Winters reported. 4 squadrons, moving to intercept the Leviathans. Morrison's smile widened. "Release the swarms." From the belly of each Leviathan came a cloud of what looked like silver dust. Thousands of micro-drones, each no larger than a coffee cup, swarmed around the incoming bombers. They didn't try to destroy the enemy ships. Instead, they attached themselves to hull plates and began broadcasting conflicting sensor data, turning the bombers' own navigation systems against them. "Sir, we're detecting power spikes in the enemy fleet," Rodriguez announced. "They're charging something big." "Now they learn why we study solar physics," Morrison said. "Execute Solar Lance Protocol." The 3 Leviathans synchronized their movements, creating a triangle formation. Energy collected from the local star, stored in their specialized hulls, began to flow between them. The space within the triangle lit up like a miniature sun. "Energy containment at maximum," Winters called out. "The enemy fleet is preparing to fire their main weapons." Morrison stood from his command chair. "Let them. All ships, initiate quantum lock. Prepare for the flash." The Korgan fleet fired first, their most powerful weapons launching streams of plasma that could melt through a small moon. But the human ships had already shifted their hull frequencies, letting the energy pass through them and into the waiting triangle of the Leviathans. "Return to sender," Morrison ordered quietly. The collected energy, combined with the power of the Korgan's own attack, released in a controlled burst that cut through space like a solar flare. When the light faded, half the Korgan fleet had been reduced to superheated plasma. "Status report," Morrison called out as normal space reformed around them. 17 enemy capital ships destroyed. Winters reported, her voice steady despite the awe of what they'd just witnessed. The rest are in full retreat. We've lost 2 swarm carriers and 1 stealth frigate. Minimal casualties. Morrison nodded solemnly. Send word to the Aldari on the surface. The 4th planet is secure. And send a message to the retreating Korgan ships. This was just the thunder. Wait until you see the lightning. The Korgan High Command's response arrived 3 days later in the form of the largest battle fleet ever assembled in the galaxy's history. 5,000 ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their planet-killer weapons already charged and ready. At their center, the massive dreadnought World Breaker loomed like a mobile moon, its hull scarred from 800 victories. Admiral Morrison stood on the Thunderchild's bridge, watching the enemy fleet deploy. Behind him, his crew waited in tense silence. They brought exactly what we expected, he said, his voice calm. Begin Operation Mind Games. Colonel Winters initiated the first phase. Throughout the human fleet, specialized electronic warfare ships activated their reality distortion fields. The space between the 2 fleets began to ripple like heat waves over hot pavement. Sir, Rodriguez reported, the enemy is launching sensor probes. They're trying to get a clear count of our forces. Let's give them something to count, Morrison replied. Execute Phantom Echo Protocol. The holographic systems that Earth had perfected over decades came to life. Ghost images of human ships began to appear and disappear throughout the battlefield, each one indistinguishable from the real thing. The Korgan fleet's targeting computers started registering thousands of potential threats, where only hundreds actually existed. Enemy fleet is adjusting formation, Winters called out. They're breaking into attack groups. No, wait. They're receiving conflicting orders. Morrison allowed himself a small smile. Launch the logic bombs. Specialized infiltration programs, designed by Earth's best cyber warfare experts, slipped through the gaps in Korgan communications. Their battle network, designed for straightforward combat, had never been tested against human-style information warfare. Sir, the communications officer shouted, we're picking up chaos in their command structure. Some ships are receiving orders to attack, others to retreat. Their formation is breaking down. The massive Korgan fleet began to show signs of confusion. Ships moved in different directions, their legendary discipline cracking under the strain of not knowing what was real and what wasn't. Now for the masterstroke, Morrison announced. Deploy the Shadow Dancers. From the darkness of space, Earth's most advanced stealth ships emerged. They had been waiting in position for days, hidden by technology that made them invisible even to the most advanced sensors. These ships moved like wraiths through the Korgan formation, their special weapons not destroying enemy vessels, but instead corrupting their command and control systems. The World Breaker is attempting to restore order, Rodriguez reported. They're switching to backup communication systems. Perfect, Morrison said. Spring the trap. All ships, execute Formation Delta 7. The real human fleet began to move in ways that defied traditional space combat doctrine. Ships wove complex patterns through space, creating what looked like chaos, but was actually a carefully choreographed dance of destruction. Each movement was designed to draw enemy fire into carefully planned killing zones. Sir, the enemy admiral is broadcasting on all frequencies, Winters announced. They're demanding to know what we are. Morrison activated the fleet-wide channel. Show them. All ships, weapons free. Let's show the galaxy why Earth spent a century preparing for this day. The battle that followed would be studied in war colleges for centuries. Human ships moved like schools of fish, breaking apart and reforming in impossible patterns. The Korgan fleet, unable to tell reality from illusion, found themselves firing at phantoms, while real attacks came from unexpected angles. The World Breaker is attempting to rally their forces, Rodriguez reported. Their admiral is getting desperate. Then it's time for the final act, Morrison said. Execute Protocol Thunderstorm. Let's end this. As the orders went out, the human fleet began its most audacious maneuver yet. Ships that had been running silent for hours revealed themselves in the heart of the enemy formation, their weapons already armed and their targets selected. The Korgans were about to learn that in their quest to build the biggest fleet, they had forgotten something critical. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you never see coming. The battle for the Aldari homeworld began with a discovery that threatened to change everything. The Korgan fleet had deployed their latest innovation, quantum lock shield technology that made their ships virtually invulnerable to conventional weapons. Energy weapons having no effect, Colonel Winters reported, her voice tense. Their new shields are adapting to everything we throw at them. Admiral Morrison stood at the center of Thunderchild's bridge, watching as the largest remaining Korgan fleet pressed their advantage. Behind them, the crystal spires of the Aldari capital glittered like hope made solid. Then it's time, Morrison said quietly. Initialize the Gestal Protocol. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez's head snapped up. Sir, that's never been tested in actual combat. Sometimes the best innovations come from desperation, Morrison replied. Signal all command ships. Prepare for geometric union. Throughout the human fleet, ships began to move in precise patterns. The maneuvers looked like dance steps written in the language of physics, each vessel taking up exact positions relative to the others. Sir, an Aldari observer called from their station, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. Those formations, they're sacred geometries. How did you know? Morrison smiled. We didn't, but when we study the mathematical patterns in your distress signal, we realize something. The universe has a hidden language, and your people speak it fluently. The human ships locked together in impossible configurations, creating three-dimensional shapes that seemed to defy engineering logic. Each formation was based on sacred Aldari crystal patterns, but reimagined through the lens of human innovation. Power synchronization at 60%, Winters called out. The quantum resonance is building. The Korgan fleet hesitated, their sensors detecting energy patterns unlike anything in their combat database. Their ships began to fire, but their weapons splashed harmlessly against the geometric formations, now taking shape. 80%, Rodriguez announced. Sir, the energy readings are off the scale. Morrison keyed the fleet-wide channel. All ships, prepare for phase lock. Remember your training. Feel the rhythm of your formation. Let the energy flow like we practiced. The geometric unions began to pulse with light that seemed to bend reality itself. The sacred patterns of the Aldari, combined with human engineering, had created something new. A way to tap into the fundamental forces of the universe. They're bringing their planet killer online. Winters shouted. Perfect timing, Morrison replied. All ships, execute final configuration. Show them what thunder and lightning really means. The human formation shifted one final time, creating a massive symbol in space that the Aldari recognized as their ancient sign for harmony. As the Korgan superweapon fired, the human ships channeled its energy through their geometric pattern, amplifying and transforming it. Power levels critical, Rodriguez called out. The hulls are starting to heat up. Hold formation, Morrison commanded. Trust in the math. Trust in the pattern. The space between the fleets lit up like a new star being born. The combined energy of the human formations created a quantum resonance that bypassed the Korgans' supposedly impenetrable shields. Their advanced defenses, designed to stop normal weapons, were useless against something that operated on such a fundamental level. By the crystal matrix, the Aldari observer whispered, "You've done it. You've actually weaponized sacred geometry." As the light faded, the results were clear. The Korgan fleet's mighty shields had failed, their ships drifting powerless in space. The combined human formations had done what no single weapon could. They had changed the rules of space combat forever. Morrison stood among his crew, pride evident in his voice. "Send word to all ships. The enemy fleet is disabled. The Aldari homeworld is secure." He paused, then added, "And send a message to Earth. The Thunder Fleet has kept its promise. We showed them what humanity can do when we work together." The great hall of the Aldari consensus sparkled like a living rainbow, its crystal walls reflecting the combined light of 1,000 crystalline beings. Admiral Morrison stood before the assembled representatives of both the Aldari leadership and the Galactic Council, his dress uniform gleaming under the prismatic display. The Thunder Fleet's victory changed more than just the outcome of one war. The High Resonator Kelxis announced, their form pulsing with bright colors of joy and respect. "It has changed the very balance of power in our galaxy." Behind Morrison, through the hall's transparent walls, the combined fleet of human and Aldari ships hung in high orbit. The geometric formations they had created together were now being studied by engineers from both species, leading to advances neither could have achieved alone. "We have received a formal request for peace negotiations from the Korgan Empire," a council representative stated, their voice carrying notes of both fear and admiration. For the first time in their history, they seek terms rather than demanding them. Morrison stepped forward to address the assembly. "Earth accepts their request for peace, but with conditions. The systematic destruction of crystal-based life forms ends today. The Korgan Empire will pay reparations to the Aldari people and submit to regular inspections by a joint human-Aldari peace force." The council chamber erupted in surprise murmurs. No one had ever dared to dictate terms to the Korgans before, but then, no one had ever defeated them so thoroughly either. "There is more," High Resonator Kelxis announced. "The Aldari consensus has made a decision. We offer to share our crystal technology with Earth, a full exchange of knowledge. Together, we will create a new force for peace in the galaxy." Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, standing at Morrison's side, couldn't hide his smile. "Sir, do you realize what this means? The combination of their crystal tech with our innovation will change everything," Morrison finished. "But first, we need to ensure this peace lasts." A new hologram appeared in the center of the hall, showing the latest designs from Earth's shipyards. The next generation of vessels would combine human adaptability with Aldari crystal matrix technology, creating ships that could literally think and evolve during combat. "The galaxy is changing," Morrison addressed the council. "Earth didn't enter this war seeking power or territory. We came because someone needed help, and that will always be our primary mission. But make no mistake, we will maintain the strength to enforce peace when necessary." As if to emphasize his point, a squadron of human ships outside performed a perfect geometric formation, their hulls now incorporating strips of living crystal that pulsed with inner light. "The age of standing alone is over," High Resonator Kelxis declared. "The Thunder Fleet has shown us a new way forward. Together, we will build something greater than either of our civilizations could achieve alone." Morrison nodded, then turned to address the gathered representatives of various species who had come to witness this historic moment. "Let this be a lesson to all who would prey upon the weak. Earth will answer any call for help, no matter the distance, no matter the odds. We've spent centuries learning from our mistakes, growing stronger from our defeats. Now we offer that strength to protect others." The council session ended with the signing of the Thunder Accords, a new treaty that would reshape galactic politics. As Morrison prepared to return to his ship, he found Rodriguez looking thoughtful. "Something on your mind, Commander?" "Just thinking, sir. The Korgans thought they were the ultimate power because they'd never lost. But us, we became strong because we know what it's like to fall and get back up." Morrison smiled, looking out at the combined fleet that symbolized this new era. That's the thing about thunder, Commander. It's not just about power. It's a warning to those who would harm the innocent. And now, the galaxy knows. When you hear the thunder, help is on the way.